Hey folks, it's Florida Deere. Thanks for joining me today. So about 4, almost 5 years ago, I did a pretty well-viewed video on tractor upgrades for the 1 Series. I haven't done any such videos since then, and a lot has changed since then, so I figured I would go over some tried and true upgrades that I've had for a long time that have worked out pretty good, and some that have kind of replaced maybe some of the other upgrades that I spoke about in the other video. I'll tag the other video at the end just so you can see which ones I still have and which ones I don't have, and then you can kind of figure out which ones you might want to have. And I'm not telling you to go run out and spend a bunch of money. Most of these are reasonably priced upgrades, and some of them have gotten cheaper over the course of, you know, those 4 or 5 years. So I'm going to take you through and we'll go over all these upgrades one by one, starting from the front of the tractor to the back of the tractor. And we'll start right now. Okay, upgrade number 1, I would suggest you get some sort of grill guard for the front of it, especially if you're doing grapple work. And I did a video a while back where I kind of ruined not the grill but actually the hood, because something was coming out of the grapple, and when I pushed it up, it was a stick, and it basically popped open the hood and kind of destroyed the locking mechanism on it. So I ended up having to replace the hood. There was probably, maybe could have repaired it, but I just wasn't that keen on that, so I just didn't do that. But anyways, there's a number of these out there now. This one's the 511. I don't recommend or not recommend the 511. There's nothing wrong with it. It was a little bit pricey. I think there are some cheaper units out there, but this one has, you know, definitely been pretty useful, and I haven't had any sort of hood or grill issue since I've had it. So I think it's worked out pretty good. Wish I had it before I had that issue that I had described. Upgrade number 2 is this thing right here. This is a breather on the front axle, and I did have that on the first video, and that has worked out pretty good, so I don't really have any complaints there, and it wasn't that expensive. I would say this is kind of an upgrade for the tractor. I mean, it's kind of an attachment, but it's kind of an upgrade too. And I've held off for a while getting a grapple because I thought I could do everything I needed to with forks, which you can use forks as a poor man's grapple, but that's what they are, and they're not nearly as effective as a grapple. Now this was about $1,500, and then the diverter, which is what you see right here, along with all the wiring and the new joystick with the trigger, was about $500 or just over $500. So the whole system was about $2,000, and I think you can still get it for around $2,500, give or take. So is it a true upgrade? I don't know, hard to say. Or is it an extra attachment? You know, I guess you could be the judge of that. Okay, these units don't really come with any sort of tie downs, so transporting them can be a little sketchy unless you have something like this. And I believe this was from Mud's Custom. So you have one there, we have one on the other side here, and then you also have these two that are hanging down right here, and then one on the other side for the rear. I think last time I used a clevis hitch or whatever for in the middle, and then just slipped one through. But now I can tie it down 4 points of the tractor and keep it pretty darn secure. So that's hasn't been an issue. And if you're going to transport your tractor a lot, you're going to need something like that. Whether you fabricate your own, or, you know, purchase something like these. So one of my buddies was kind enough to get me a Sawhaul, and that's basically just something for your chainsaw. And with stump grinding, it's not a bad idea to take a chainsaw with you. A lot of times when you get to somebody's house, you know, they have a stump that's like, you know, 2 or 3 feet tall or higher. And then you're like, well, what am I supposed to do with that? You know, if you didn't bring a chainsaw, nothing. But if you brought a chainsaw, at least you can, you know, chop it down to a reasonable height, and actually might cut some of your work out of, you know, stump grinding. But this is convenient to have. You do have to realize, though, that once you have the saw in there, you're, you know, about that much further out. So you, in the places that you might have just barely fit through, you might not fit through anymore. You got to be careful of that. So just word of the wise, check your clearances. Okay, so this is another, I believe, Mud's Custom, is these handles, and I still don't have one over there because when I ordered this one, the other one was not in stock, so I did not get the other one. Now, I've used the steering wheel a number of times, but I don't want to, you know, yank on that as much all the time. And this is, you know, kind of a little further out and a little more convenient. I'm so used to doing the steering wheel, it's taken some reprogramming on my part to remember to grab this as opposed to the steering wheel. But once you get these installed, you know, if like you just get the tractor or something, I'd install them quickly so then you don't learn to grab the steering wheel. Okay, now here's another upgrade which I super like, and that is these flat face hydraulic things. I think I can, yeah, do it by one hand. There we go. And then, so you see that notch right there, you can rotate it so then it doesn't come out. I don't think there's going to be any reason why that would happen, but they stay much cleaner and they don't leak. At least I haven't had any leak for a while, and I had some, my other ones kind of, one or two of them leaked. No matter how clean I tried to make them, they just would leak. These were not cheap. I think these were like 200 or 250 bucks, but I kind of justified that in the sense that I didn't want a single point connector, which I think is like 600 or 700 bucks. So these aren't probably as simple as that, but they're a heck of a lot cheaper, so I thought it justified it. So I believe this was an upgrade last time, and that is switching out the lever for four-wheel drive that they give you that kind of comes out here. And I don't know why John Deere does that. I mean, this can grab a leg a little bit, especially if it's out like that in four-wheel drive, but it's a lot more convenient to grab when you're driving the tractor than the one that John Deere sent you. And these are available probably through a number of sources that weren't available back in the day. But I'd recommend that as just sort of as a convenience thing, and operationally just makes the tractor a lot easier to handle going in and out of four-wheel drive. You don't have to bend over. It's right there where your hand drops, and so I think it's a good upgrade. This was also on the upgrade list last time, I believe, and that is this little pedal here that, as you can see, it's definitely been worn and probably needs to be re-gripped, probably with that stuff that I got from Home Depot and put on the trailer. Probably should have saved some of that, so I have to go buy a new one. But anyway, the John Deere only gives you this little this little nub right here that is really awkward for your foot to hit. And when you put it on, though, you want to make sure. I did see some guy on one of the web pages that said he had it installed to where I guess it snagged and kept the transmission stuck in traction lock, so it ended up ruining the transmission. So you just want to be careful that that can easily go down and up and engage and disengage as a regular feature, so it doesn't destroy your transmission. Okay, so I believe this is the one that the tractor comes with, the toolbox that the tractor comes with. And I thought this tiny toolbox was too small. So I added another toolbox, and it was just so happened that you can't get the same arrangement exactly. I mean, I guess if I drilled holes, I could have gotten it, but maybe there was some other reason I got it and mounted it over here. But I put some different things in there, and nonetheless, that was not a super expensive upgrade either. It wasn't too bad. And you can make your own too. I mean, you can do all sorts of different things here with toolboxes. You know, take this one off, put a much larger one on. You only just want to make sure that you're not interfering with anything with your 3-point hitch, or if you have a backhoe, that might be an issue. Or it comes into contact with any of your attachments. You just want to be mindful of all of that. And to me, this is still one of my top upgrades. I think it was one of the more expensive ones. I want to say this was probably $600 and something. So it's a pretty elaborate, I mean, it's not that elaborate of an upgrade, but it's a little bit. because you do have to replumb some of the stuff from the hydraulics to here, to the actual hydraulic unit. Back up to here, as you can see, there's a number of hoses that go there. And it's just a one circuit. And there's where the circuit is, right here. And they come with 1/2-inch couplers, so they're much larger than the other ones on the tractor, just so you're clear about that. And the reason why I engineered that is because I like having a hydraulic top link, and this has been, so I mean, that's an upgrade in itself, but then the hydraulic top link is sort of the byproduct upgrade, which I think is really useful. I'd recommend anybody with one of these tractors get the rear hydraulic kit with a hydraulic top link. Having the hydraulic top link is just so useful in getting stuff on. I know people use quick hitches and stuff like that, and that's fine, but this makes it so easy to adjust. If you have to adjust the angle of like a bush hog, the stump grinder, even a tiller, there are times when you have to adjust those things, you know, getting them on and off trailers. Okay, folks, that pretty much concludes this tried and true upgrade video for the John Deere 1 Series. This is, again, a 1023E, but any of these items will work on a 1025R or a 1026R, and probably a lot of them will work on a 2210 or even a 2305, which were the predecessors of the 1 Series. So anyways, I hope this video was helpful in helping you maybe select things that will make your tractor easier to use or safer to use or more convenient to use, or maybe you're on the fence about pulling the trigger on one of these upgrades and now you know that it's, you know, a pretty decent upgrade. If you want to post any upgrades in the commentary that I missed that might be pretty useful, feel free to do so. I'd appreciate that. I'm always looking for ways to make the tractor easier to use and more effective a tool, you know, that it is. So anyways, I'd appreciate that too. Again, if you liked the video, hit the like button. I'd appreciate that. And if you wanted to see more videos about the John Deere 1 Series or any of my John Deere garden tractors, you can hit the subscribe button as well. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.